southern Saskatchewan and parts of Alberta and Manitoba, on the original lands of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dakota, Nakota, Lakota, and on the homeland of the Métis Nation. City of Regina owes its strength and vibrancy to these lands and the diverse Indigenous peoples whose ancestors' footsteps have marked this territory, as well as settlers from around the world who continue to be welcomed here and call Regina home. All members of council are present. We may have one attending the meeting today through video conferencing. I'd like to remind members of council who are attending through video, please ensure that your camera and microphone are off. If you wish to speak, use the raised hand function, and when speaking, enable your microphone and video camera. All votes will be conducted with a recorded vote. We have delegations that will be attending the meeting today, both in person and through teleconferencing, to address council on various items on the agenda. Can I have someone move a motion to approve the agenda at the call of the chair with the following changes? Move the consideration of items CR 22-51, CR 22-52 to after the consideration of item CR 22-53, the Regina Transit Master Plan, its related delegations and communications. Treaty signed with 35 First Nations across southern Saskatchewan and parts of Alberta. Whoever's and appearing by teleconferencing, could you please ensure your microphones are muted? And on the homeland of the Métis Nation. City of Regina owes its strength and vibrancy to these lands. I have a seconder on the motion. Thank you. Ancestors Councillor Mancinelli. Territory as well as settlers from around the world who continue to be welcomed here and call Regina home. Seeing none. Carried. Can I have someone move a motion to approve the meeting minutes from April 14th and April 20th, 22 meetings of council? Thank you, Councillor Hawkins. Seconded by Councillor Bresciani. Any errors or omissions? I'll call the question. Any opposed? Carried. So council, in terms of how fast I spit that all out, we are going to be doing the Transit Master Plan first on the agenda. To that end, we have delegations. And I'm being asked for one moment. One moment, please. Okay, I'd like to call upon Delegation Dylan Morin. Dylan, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself for the record, the organization you're representing, if any, and where you happen to live. You'll have 5 minutes to address City Council, after which time you'll have the opportunity to respond to any questions Council may have for you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me speak today. My name is Dylan Morin. I am representing myself. I'm an avid transit rider and paratransit rider. The reason why I came to see City Council today is because I want to see an increase. I come to speak on the Transit Master Plan, and I want to see an increase, something put in place sooner rather than later. I would like to see an increase to Sunday service. Because an hour service is too long to wait for a bus. I would like to see it increase instead of 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. I'd like to see it maybe 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Sundays. That would give people a chance to go for Sunday dinners, go to a movie, for those who don't drive. I would also like to see increased services on Canada Day, especially after the fireworks. I think it would cause less congestion going in and coming out of Wascana Park. And so I'd like to see an increase in service And that's about it.
Thanks very much, Mr. Morin. Does any member of council have any questions for the delegation? Thanks. I don't see any questions from council, Dylan. I thank you very much
Thank you.
for your presentation this afternoon. Ask that you return to the gallery. I'd like to call upon Delegation James McKenzie. Good afternoon, Mr. McKenzie. I'll ask that for the record, you please introduce yourself, the organization you're representing, if any, and where you live. You'll have 5 minutes to address City Council, after which you'll have the opportunity to answer any questions they may have for you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is James McKenzie. I live in Regina. I'm here to speak about the Transit Master Plan. My main concern right now is the on-demand option that they're going to offer in the news under the transit plan, because right now the current on-demand transit, the on-demand is I do not have a cell phone because I cannot use a cell phone, so I cannot text for a bus. I would have to phone for a bus, but I don't know what the number is. And also, I'm here to speak on the option, why was not a downtown terminal really looked at instead of just to keep it on 11th Avenue and have it all stopped all over the downtown, when someone like me, who's in a wheelchair, have enough trouble trying to get around. Like right now, when I get on a city bus, when I want to get off the city bus, I have to wait till the other customers get on the bus before I can get off. And that I miss my transfers that way. So I would like to see transit change the policy that the bus driver allows the mobility device to get off the bus first before he lets other people on, so they can catch their transfers. Because if we're going to keep it on 11th Avenue, it's not easy to try to get across the street. And I used to live in Saskatoon back in 2010. And so I loved the downtown terminal in Saskatoon. I lived there for 30 years, and I loved that. I loved where the buses were in one area and you could catch it and then go wherever you want in the city. And there were terminals all over the city. I don't know why Regina never went to that. Thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. McKenzie. Do any members of council have any questions for the delegation? Councillor Stadnichuk.
Thank you, Mayor Masters. Through the chair, Jamie, I just wanted to ask if what we heard last week was that the buses would come more often. So would you find that quite helpful if you know that once you get off the bus, that another bus would be coming very soon?
Yep, that would help very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Stadnichuk. I don't see any other questions from council. Mr. McKenzie, thanks very much for your presentation this afternoon. I'd like to call upon Delegation Terry Sleva. Please introduce yourself for the record, the organization you're representing, if any, and where you're calling from. You'll have 5 minutes to address City Council, after which time you'll have the opportunity to answer any questions council may have for you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor Masters and City Council members and administration. I'm Terry Sleva, Chair of the Regina Citizens Public Transit Coalition here in Regina. And I'm here to address the Transit Master Plan. I agree with the goals being presented. In fact, this was said in 2013. The city would like to push for an electrified fleet for the near future and added a great point of saying we can't talk seriously about a renewable Regina without transit. Now with the TMP, we see that this is being brought forward. as not just a possibility, but as an inevitability. Through this, though this is a step in the right direction, there is still much to be done to meet our long-standing goals. It is worth noting the comment in the official community plan from December 16, 2013, creating better and more active ways of getting around. Mobility, the city is increasingly transitioning from car-oriented, people-oriented to people-oriented design and development by offering residents a greater range of mobility choice. At the same time, the city increased demands for better and more transportation connections to the region. Make it easier for people of all abilities to travel through the city by investing in public transit, in appropriate locations and planning for all active forms of transportation. This includes providing access routes so that all people can easily travel from home to work and to other destinations. This is from the OCP. We are getting closer. Pardon me, that's the end of the quote. We are getting closer to meeting all of the previously noted targets. However, we need to remain focused and unified on these matters that will result in a better environment and a more livable city for all people. In regards to the 11th Avenue bus hub, the central downtown bus line is crucial to the already established area and should remain as such going further. Many people commuting to the Cornwall Centre or Scar Street rely on those buses year-round. And given our especially cold and long winters, they don't need to be venturing even further just to get meaningful transport, especially when the large portion of the current transit users are retirees, like me. In addition, the downtown area is one of our restaurant bar areas of the city. Removal or redirection of the 11th Avenue line would be another hurdle for people to find safe rides home. Saskatchewan is already the worst drinking and driving statistic in Canada for years running. This doesn't need to be exacerbated by an increase in difficulty for using safe, affordable transit home. Thank you for addressing the key points, of some of which are free transit for youth, bus frequency, Sunday and holiday service, increased service hours, route expansion for the citizens of Regina. I just pray that we will have speedy implementation improvements to public transit in Regina. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any
Terry.
questions?
Thank you very much, Terry Sleva. I'll ask council if there's any questions for the delegation. I don't see any. I'll thank you very much for your presentation this afternoon, Terry, and ask that you please leave the meeting.
Thank you, Mayor.
I'd like to call upon Delegation Florence Stratton. I'll ask that you please introduce yourself for the record, the organization you're representing, if any, and where you happen to live. You'll have 5 minutes to address City Council, after which time you'll have the opportunity to answer any questions they may have for you. Good afternoon.
Mayor Masters and City Councillors, Florence Stratton. I live in Regina and I'm representing myself. Regina's 2022 Transit Master Plan was, for the most part, a joy to read. There are so many excellent recommendations in it, including more frequent service, earlier and later service, better Sunday and holiday service. I was also pleased to see the recommendation that 11th Avenue downtown continue to be accessible with high-quality bus stop. As the plan observes, downtown 11th Avenue remains one of the most popular destinations for transit users. And it's not merely a matter of convenience. Many transit users have mobility issues, which make having to move even short distances on foot or by wheel a big challenge, especially in winter. On the subject of accessibility, I was especially thrilled to see the plan's repeated commitment, not only to accessibility, but also to equity and inclusion. When I got to the section on fares, however, I was more than a little dismayed. Most of the recommendations have to do with the digitalization of transit fare payment through smartphone applications and debit and credit cards. Such technologies assume a certain level of affluence, one that many transit users do not possess. At this point in the plan, the commitment to accessibility, equity, and inclusion seems to have been thrown out the window. To add insult to injury, the plan then recommends that those who pay their fare in cash be charged more than those who pay digitally. Single fares are already more expensive per ride. This needs to be changed unless Regina wants to be known as a city with a transit system that engages in anti-poor discrimination. The main barrier to accessing Regina Transit for many people is the fare. Youth 5 to 14 are attending high school, $2.75 a ride or $64 for a 31-day pass. Adults $3.25 a ride or $88 for a 31-day pass. The plan recommends fare-free transit for children 12 years old and younger, an improvement over the current situation, but still insufficient. What about children aged 13 to 18? They still need to get to school and other places. Over 9,000 children in Regina live in poverty. A few weeks ago, I was coming home on the bus. When it stopped at the Golden Mile, a young girl, a teenager, got on. When she tapped her pass on the fare box, it registered empty. The driver told her to get off the bus and go and put money on her pass. She got off the bus and went and sat back down on the bus shelter. Clearly, she didn't have money to put on her pass. No one should be refused service for lack of a fare. In the name of accessibility, equity, and inclusion, please make Regina Transit fare-free for everyone 18 and under as a first step toward fare-free transit for all. The recommendation that children 12 and under have fare-free transit is also insufficient on another ground. As the plan says, public transit plays an important role in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. As the plan also states, sustainable travel behaviors are best established at an early age. However, if fare-free transit is only offered to those 12 and under, teenagers, rather than becoming transit users for life, are likely to view riding the bus as only for children, as something to be put away with other childish things. A climate crisis is at our door. Free transit is a way for Regina to meet its climate targets. In 2016, Kingston eliminated transit fares for all high school students. In 2019, Victoria eliminated transit fares for everyone 18 years old and under. These are the models Regina should follow. How to pay for it? Regina Transit is subsidized by local taxes, but so too are private vehicles. It is, after all, Regina taxpayers who foot the bill for road construction and maintenance. Yet drivers aren't charged a fee to drive a car down a Regina street. Fare-free transit addresses so many issues, including accessibility, equity, inclusion, along with the climate emergency. By encouraging people to get out of their cars and onto the bus, fare-free transit also reduces traffic congestion and accidents, as well as air and noise pollution. In the name of accessibility, equity, inclusion, sustainability, and health and safety, I ask you to please make Regina Transit fare-free for everyone 18 years old and younger as a first step toward fare-free transit for all. Indeed, given all that transit users do for this city, you should be paying us to use transit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Stratton. I have a question from Councillor Stadnichuk.
Thank you, Mayor Masters. Through the chair, you've made your point clearly about fare-free transit for those 18 and under. What else do you think we could be doing to encourage more adults to be riding the bus?
Well, you could make parking more difficult, but I mean, I guess I'm obviously a transit advocate, and contrary to what many people think, riding transit is a real pleasure. I'll start with some of the things you don't have to worry about. You don't have to worry about finding a parking space. You don't have to worry about parking tickets. You don't have to worry about getting in an accident. None of those things. So you're free from those. And you can spend your time in really quite lovely ways on the bus, visiting with fellow passengers, for example, or reading a book, or looking out the window, or you can even text to your heart's content on the bus. If you're caught texting while you're driving, you're going to get a ticket. On the bus, you're free to text as you like. So those are, I find riding the bus a true pleasure. And I think if people understood that, more people would ride the bus.
Through the chair, my next question is just, as a senior, do you find the senior fare rate reasonable at $30 a month?
Well, it depends how much money you have. I mean, what is it? I buy the yearly pass. It's about 300. I've forgotten. It's in around 300. I can afford it. I mean, maybe I'd rather spend my money on other things, but I can afford it. Some people cannot afford it. So that no, it's not reasonable. There should be fare-free transit for all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stadnichuk. I see no further questions from members of council. Thank you very much for your presentation this
Thank
afternoon.
you very much.
Ask that you return to the gallery. I'll call upon Delegation Faith Savarese. I'll ask that you please introduce yourself for the record, the organization you're representing, if any, and where you happen to live. You will have 5 minutes to address City Council, after which time you'll have the opportunity to answer any questions that Council may have for you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor Masters and council members. Thank you for having us come and speak to the Transit Master Plan today. So I'm Faith Savarese. I'm here representing a project called 4 to 40 and the Travel Training Service.
And I'm Ben Morris. I'm a City of Regina resident. I'm here representing Creative Options Regina and the Travel Training Program.
So we're just co-presenting to provide some information regarding the existing travel training service and support its proposed expansion to cover potential users such as or new users, seniors, and newcomers, which would increase regular ridership and options for travel, and as per the Regina Master Plan. So we're basically here talking about accessibility. So as I mentioned, we're here representing 4 to 40, which is an inclusive employment project. And 4 to 40 is an initiative to connect people experiencing intellectual disability with forward-thinking employers who embrace a 4 to 40-hour work week. 4 to 40 is also a collaborative partnership between Creative Options Regina, who Ben is representing, and the University of Regina's Campus for All, which I'm representing. CORE is a nonprofit organization that develops personalized support services for people experiencing disability, while Campus for All is an inclusive post-secondary education initiative at the University of Regina. The travel training started as a pilot project in 2018 to provide practical skills and guidance to people who are unfamiliar with using conventional City of Regina transit. It was originally aimed at assisting people experiencing disability who were frequent users of paratransit. The purpose was not to totally eliminate users from paratransit, but to provide the idea that not every trip needs to be a paratransit trip, because of course paratransit trips are much more expensive than regular transit trips. A unique feature of the project was that individuals with intellectual disabilities were hired as trainers or transit ambassadors. And I'm going to turn things over to Ben now to talk more about the travel training service.
So the travel training service was developed in partnership with the Regina Transit and the University of Regina. Kinesiology students are currently operating as volunteers within that to help the process along with some of our trainers. And like she said, it's been running since 2018 in its pilot year. The program saw steady growth in its first year with 900 trips, the original goal being 1,000 that would have otherwise been designated to paratransit and then were directed to conventional transit. In its second year, a jump to 2,325 trips were accessed, and then in a year, 2020, that was affected significantly by COVID, we still reached our goal of 1,000 originally, and with 1,300 trips. The goal of the one-to-one program is to help people develop new and attainable routines. Built into the program is helping the rider find their most common destination. And then through muscle memory and basic understanding of the city app or Google Maps, along with the help of our travel training team, it becomes an attainable goal. This free service has 4 phases and moves at the trainee's pace, helping the transition move along without fear of being left behind. There have been approximately 25 people who have been successfully trained through this service and currently have 29 people on the waiting list at different stages due to the complexities of halting in 2020. Based on the above data, I can say with confidence that this service would fit well with the goals recently announced to increase ridership in the city of Regina. There are opportunities here to not only provide a valuable service to the citizens, but also to partner and employ underrepresented communities. In a recent assessment, needs assessment conducted by one of my students, the kinesiology students, in the winter semester of 2022, we learned the appetite for a service like this one in organizations such as Open Door Society and Newcomers Welcome Center. And I have a small survey of 15 people, but a survey all the same with statistics if you do wish to hear some of them. The biggest takeaway here is that the people will need help. And the program like Travel Training Service already in existence has so many qualitative benefits for the people who are part of it. So like more meaningful days, access to employment, not to mention the independence one gains from being able to choose when and where they make appointments or even go for groceries. So yeah, I think that's it.
So just to sum up, we think that the travel training service provides a valuable service to the citizens of Regina currently, which is to most people with intellectual disability. But in the Transit Master Plan, it talks about expansion of that service. So we're thinking about expanding to seniors and newcomers. It also, as Ben has said, provides employment to underrepresented groups. It has ancillary impacts, environmental impacts, and it seems to be win-win. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have some questions for council. Councillor Shaw.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation and thank you for those numbers. That's very helpful and meaningful for me moving forward with this. My question, you said you increased it from 900 to how much was?
2,325 trips in total in the second year.
In the second year?
Yeah.
So what do you feel this new master transit plan, do you feel that this will add, what will this add to more people using the transit, do you feel, through the chair?
Yeah, so ultimately, just by those numbers alone, people want this service in the disability community. And one of the things that I feel, and through the small amount of statistics that I get, 14 out of 15 people surveyed are frequent bus users, but 11 out of 15 of those depend on friends to help them get from point A to point B. And so to me, that says they have access to the bus pass, but don't know how to get anywhere. They can't go for groceries because they don't know how to get there, what bus to get onto, whether it be a need to, just like a simple need, like learning how to use the Google Maps or the Transit, the City of Regina app that has Transit Live in there somewhere. Whether it's that or whether it's just like helping people develop some confidence that the whole process of the travel training program is to help people. Nobody's left behind in it. And so it moves at the pace of the person. And so whether you want to access it for just one day or, a couple trips to develop some confidence, I think it would strengthen the literacy of all of the communities that Faith mentioned. And yeah, I think just in developing that literacy and helping out those communities, whether it be just that one little bit or a significant undertaking or training, which I don't know what it looked like at this point, but I think would benefit overarchingly for all seniors, for newcomers, even people like me who didn't until I learned how to use this travel training program.
So do you think that if this master transit plan goes through, the increase in frequency and things like that, do you think that will help a lot in getting more people on the transit, or is it mainly just they don't know how to use the transit?
I think it would help underrepresented communities access transit. I don't know if
By
it would help
increasing it?
but building more capacity with this training, I do believe that we would be able to access some of those communities and help them get on the bus and travel around the city. I do believe that. I don't know, but I believe. Does that answer your question?
I'm just trying to think, is it because they're having a problem trying to figure out how to use the bus? Because I'm first to say I don't know how to use the bus.
Yeah.
But if it was more frequent and the trips were quicker and the trips were to the places quicker for people, do you think that would help increase the frequency of anybody that you've spoken with or have dealt with?
I don't think that's the issue. That what the travel service really addresses is what Ben is talking about people. So for people with intellectual disabilities who don't feel safe, or their families don't feel that it's safe for them to ride the bus, that we're encouraging them now to rather than take paratransit, to ride the bus, right? And I think that might be true for not that they don't feel safe necessarily, but there's not the literacy around it about using the bus and how the bus works, or that there is the app now that people can use to find routes, or using Google Maps. Has been said that, what they found in the, this one fellow that he works with, that people are relying on their friends to tell them how to get around, for example, or how to navigate the city. And so it's not a matter of how fast the buses are coming, it's a matter of having those navigation skills and feeling comfortable with knowing how the service works.
Absolutely, and thank you for what you're doing, and I'd be happy to come to one of the classes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Shaw. Councillor Bresciani.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for the work that you do. I know it by heart. So I just want to add, though, you did indicate seniors in the work, which I've never heard that before. I've heard people with disability, but now helping seniors. How would 4 to 40 and CORE enhance that then, through the chair?
So as we mentioned, this was started, the travel training service started in 2018. And at that time it was piloted, and it was piloted with people with intellectual disabilities, as you know. It was floated at that time that we might extend or expand to various communities, and those communities were kind of floated to us by people from the city. But we also think that those are probably two groups that underutilize the service, the regular transit service. Yeah, and you want to know how we're going to how we might do that? Yeah, I think that that would be contingent on further discussion. So as Ben mentioned, now it's really a one-to-one kind of program that moves at the pace of the individual. So I think that could continue, but there also might be, for example, classes that could be offered to groups of people. Through the newcomer community, or through seniors organizations, for example, so that we can address those issues different, or address those populations a little bit differently depending on what they need or want.
Yeah.
I think those things have to be decided yet.
Okay, thank you. And just the last question. So it is the recommendation that the budget be increased to increase the travel training program. So would that look with CORE and 4 to 40 or other organizations, or how would that would that work?
I'm not sure I'm understanding the
So
question.
how would it work? So is it 4 to 40 or is it core that actually, I know Dylan does a lot of the work with
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
program, so how would that then be accessed? Like if they're going to increase the funding, is it, who does the funding go to, or does it sit with the city? How does that work?
So the funding actually, because 4 to 40 is not an incorporated organization, as you know, it's just it's a collaborative partnership between two existing community agencies. The money generally flows through CORE.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So what does that look like? It looks like maybe hiring new trainers like Dylan himself. We have another couple other gentlemen, Mitchell and Ben Dulanowski, who definitely, we could hire them more frequently. As of right now, the budget for that only allows us to, our capacity is limited by it, of course.
Sure.
So then what does that mean? That means more students, another me, somebody else to oversee that program and all of the trainers that could be part of it. What does that look like? More partnerships with those communities like Open Door Society and Newcomers Welcome Center, possibly. Does that look like partnering with somebody who represents older adults? Definitely.
seniors mechanism, for example.
So I think with the increased budget, I think that would just increase more capacity on our end, because I'm, again, one person and I oversee the program.
Absolutely. Okay, that's great. Thank you again. I'll have.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Brushy. Annie, I don't see any other member of council with a question for you. Thank you very much for your presentation this afternoon.
Thank you
And
very
ask that
much.
you return to the gallery.
So I think
Hello?
I'll call upon Delegation Carla Harris. Please introduce yourself for the record, the organization you're representing, if any, and where you're calling from. You'll have 5 minutes to address City Council, after which you'll have the opportunity to answer any questions that Council may have for you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name's Carla Harris. I am a Regina resident in Whitmore Park, and I am here representing myself and my community. I'm a disabled entrepreneur, and I'm really excited for the new map of the public transit system, because I keep hearing from a number of city councilors mention that older people are unlikely to transition to use bus. Well, I used to believe, when I was still 25, I used to believe I would never use the bus. But then my health changed. And so the health changing statistics, when you look at Canadians, 20% of Canadians between the age of 24 and 64 have a disability. But once you reach that year of 65, it actually almost doubles to 40% of Canadians. And so I think there are a lot more people who we are forgetting need to be facilitated users. So that would be students, newcomers, seniors who wish to work or who wish to take part in community or, events, and disabled workers like myself. So I think that the problem that we have with the current proposal is that there's not enough of an immediacy planned and a timeline for how things will be introduced to offer transit to all in our city. And so I think I'd like to just go through some of my major proposal focus points that I think need to be moved on immediately. So getting new routes into the suburbs, where a lot of new properties have been built, but people are purchasing those with an apartment in them, or are buying a condo with the intent of renting it out. There's a lot of rental space that's in those areas, which is less common in some of the regions that are close to a lot of these people's jobs. So we need to be able to have access to work. My focus would be to aim this on accessing employment that is minimum wage to kind of early years of employment. Currently, with our location of the hub, the main hub being in the downtown, that's focusing on all of the locations where some of the highest paid and permanent salary roles are located, which is not helping new people get to those new entry-level jobs. So your things like Costco that is on the outside of the city, especially the airport, those are jobs with health plans and everything that a lot of people actually can't even apply to because they can't access. So I am suggesting that we partner with groups like Newcomers Society, Open Door Society, and all of the other organizations that offer employment facilitation programming, and partner with those large centers of employment, which are the GTH, industrial areas, Aurora, and some of the sort of new suburbs that have box store locations. Those are going to be the people as lower earning per hour jobs. Those are going to be the people who access via transit will have the largest economic impact on. I recommend also speaking with working unions, explore creating similar to the U of R's agreement where they opened up lower cost bus ticket to all members so that you can then have a larger income coming in right now to allow us to start launching into extending these. And the thing that I think is most important is extending free transit to the age of 18. So many people who have a challenge finding employment do so to get those first chances, those first tries at work. And so many youths who have a family with one car or with no vehicles, they don't have the opportunity to take part in cultural events or to access their own employment, which can build and help them choose a career, help them choose their study direction, and help them have that freedom to really learn. Because like kids under 12 who are maybe just going to school and otherwise traveling with their parents, they're actually, oh, sorry, I know it's my 5 minutes. I gave myself an alarm this time because I'm always late. Thank you. But they're the ones that are not quite accessing. And so the senior population, I think there's a lot of seniors currently who are getting external help.
Ms.
And
Harris?
if what we
Ms.
did
Harris?
was, yeah,
I'll give you
Yep.
10 seconds to wrap it up.
thank you. Offer free transit to people who are 50 and over to get them to try it. Because if we encourage people to try it between the hours of 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., that would be a slow uptake for that group who is very used
Thank
to
you.
driving.
I'll thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll look to council to see if they have any questions for you. Thank you, Ms. Harris. I do appreciate it, but we do have more
Yep.
delegations
No,
waiting presently. Thank you. I don't see that any members of council have any questions for you, so I'll thank you very much for your presentation this afternoon and ask that you please leave the meeting.
Thank you.
I'd like to call upon delegations Sarah Cummings-Truskowski and Lacey Weeks. Apologize, Sarah Cummings. You can correct me on that pronunciation shortly. I'll call you forward. I would ask you to please introduce yourself for the record, the organization you're representing, if any, and where you happen to live. You'll have 5 minutes to address City Council, after which time you'll have the opportunity to answer any questions they may have for you. Good afternoon.
Hello, I'm Sarah Cummings-Truskowski, a Regina Public School Board trustee and also a parent in the city. I'm here with fellow trustee Lacey Weeks. We are here to ask the City of Regina to please consider offering free public transportation to all children in Regina up to age 18, an older age that would support more children in Regina compared to what it is recommended in your administration only up to age 12. Not only would free transit help children all over Regina get to school, but would also help thousands of children in Regina live more equitable lives with accessible transportation. Most of our high school students are expected to get to school on their own. Some walk, some drive if they have that luxury, and some take the city bus. But there are many children who find it difficult to get to school. A youth bus pass costs $64 a month. Multiply that by 10 months, and that's an extra $640 a year. This is a cost that many families cannot afford. Over the last year, I've spoken with many principals in our schools. Free transit would greatly help our students all over the city. It would lessen financial pressure on families living in poverty, reduce stress for children, and it would help ensure children living in or near the poverty line more easily get to their jobs, get to their appointments, and succeed in life. Free city transit would greatly help families. I recently spoke with the principal at Scott Collegiate, and he told me that getting free transportation for his high school students would change their lives. I've just completed a research report entitled Poverty in Regina Public Schools. In Regina, approximately 20% of our children live in poverty. That puts about 4,800 of our Regina Public School students in that position. One of the key recommendations for the City of Regina in this report is to improve the lives of families and children living in poverty is to provide free public transportation for all children up to age 18. I will include an excerpt from this report. Accessible transportation is not the only challenge for our students in poverty, since their families face a mountain of crippling expenses, the high cost of rent, monthly utility bills, skyrocketing cost of groceries, childcare, transportation, and clothing all add financial pressure. Free public transportation for all children up to age 18 would lift one major barrier for those students living in poverty and help them succeed in life. I'm going to pass it to Lacey Weeks.
In November, the Regina Public School Board passed a motion asking the school division to form a sustainability committee comprised of staff and students to make recommendations to the Regina School Board of Education on how the division can move forward with the climate action plan to become net zero by 2050. So this is in support of the City of Regina's commitment to become a renewable city by 2050. Providing free public transportation to all children in Regina up to age 18 would give students and families an affordable way to lower their own ecological footprint. This would be an important step forward for both the City of Regina and the Regina Public Schools to reach the goal of becoming net zero by 2050. Thanks.
Thank you very much. We have some questions for you. Councillor Zakidniak.
Thank you. Thanks for coming today, Lacey and Sarah. I do have at least one question. I wonder if you could give any sense of what sorts of supports the public school board may be willing to offer in support of fare-free transit for high school students.
Sure. So as a school board, we make all of our decisions with the entire board. So anything that had to be financial would have to go back to the board and discussed there. But we would definitely be able to help with the student training of how to take the bus and encourage more people to take the bus. And we'd be able to help advocate to the provincial government to help with fund more for this kind of thing. And I was just thinking in my seat that we probably could help with messaging and advertising about encouraging people to take the buses as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Zakidniak. Councillor Shaw.
I have a couple questions just to add on from Councillor Zakidniak's comment. Has there ever been a time when you thought maybe that you would help monetary, like, so say if there's 100 students in the school and 50 that need bus passes, has it ever been talked about that maybe the school board would offer, 20% of this cost back to the kids and then ask a percentage? Has that ever been discussed through the chair?
So we do help some of our students. Every year we buy $20,000 worth of R cards to give to those students who need it. R cards are 2-time passes that principals are given and they can just give out. But we need a lot more, and they need just the security of knowing that they're not worrying about if they get that or not. And it's more than just school that these teenagers need the bus passes for. It's also for getting to after school jobs, medical appointments, all kinds of appointments. Our staff are sometimes taking on those roles of helping get those kids to those appointments. And it's so much on our staff's shoulders that having free transportation for these kids would just mean the world to them.
Thank you. Sorry, I apologize, Councillor Shaw. You can continue your questioning in a second. I just need to interject. I should have done this before you began speaking, so I apologize. In light of Emergency Preparedness Week, an emergency alert is scheduled for 1:55 p.m. today. I just want to remind the public this will be happening, and just to remain calm, and it's simply an emergency exercise. Please, Councillor Shaw, continue on.
Thank you. So I'm looking at 40% of our taxes go to the school boards, our municipal taxes. That leaves 60% for us to take care of our roads, our sidewalks, our snow removal, infrastructure, clean water, recreational facilities. So my ask of the school boards is, would you entertain the thought of contributing something back into the free buses if that's something that you believe is a barrier to children getting to school? And I'm not saying that it's not, and I understand we all need to get rid of the barriers in order to get education and employment. I understand that. But this is something that, as a taxpayer and as a citizen of Regina, we see a lot of our taxes going to the schools, and then you're asking for more of our taxes to go to the school. So just a suggestion, just to wonder if that's ever been discussed in amongst the school boards through the chair.
Just as a point of clarification, school divisions do not have access to the property tax base and do not receive any proceeds from education property taxes following provincial legislative changes in 2009. The education property tax is now a provincially administered tax, and all revenues accrue directly to the provincial treasury. School divisions are grant funding by the Ministry of Education. Overall, funding levels for pre-K to grade 12 education are determined through the provincial budget process, and available funds are allocated among school divisions using a series of allocation formulas administered by the Ministry of Education.
Right, so we as taxpayers are giving our money to the Ministry of Education.
Councillor Shaw, no argument with the delegate.
No, I'm just getting some clarification. So, but it's still going to the school boards, correct?
We definitely get some money, but
Okay.
the
Thank you.
taxes, we don't have any say about
No,
how much we get.
absolutely not. No, thank you.
I'll just add, I want to stress that this is an investment into our transit system for the future, right? So you invest in our youth today, they will be lifelong riders as adults. So you will be getting that back in the future. They will become riders in the future. So I really want to, stress that, think of it as an investment for the future.
And I'm going to go one step further. It's not even just an investment in them going to be riding
Councillor
buses.
Shaw, questions?
Questions. It's also an investment into our economy. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Stadnicek.
Thank you. Through the mayor, I want to have a bit of an understanding of what and you may not know the answer to this, but what the school division pays currently for busing costs for elementary students. Do you have a sense of that, or do you know?
Yeah. In 2018 to 2019, we spent $7,600,000 and change on our transportation, and it went up in the last few years by 22%, and now this year we're forecast to spend about $9,300,000.
Okay.
The numbers are jumping quickly.
And I guess I'm thinking kind of formulating my question while I'm thinking it. Through the chair, do you see if we did have fare-free transit for under 18, would that eliminate the need for busing of elementary students?
Do I just wait?
Okay.
That's it? Okay.
Please proceed.
So I don't know. There are still many programs that we offer that for accessible kids who need, some of them have taxis that go directly, or small buses, specialized transportation vehicles that go directly to their homes. And so I don't think the busing system would eliminate it completely, but wouldn't that be incredible if we could just have one busing system and not several overlapping systems?
Mm-hmm. Okay. I wanted to ask a question as well through the chair about the Regina campus, I think that's what it's called, where there are people who are going back to get their grade 12, right?
Oh. Ellen Blakeney Adult Campus?
Yes,
Is okay.
that's what it is called. And I remember having a conversation with somebody who was concerned about bus, the lack of affordability of bus passes for those students. So they would be over 18. Would you want to see just under 18 free fare, or for any students who are trying to also complete their high school system, their high school?
Well, that would be ideal if it could be for any age of student who's attending any of our schools.
Right. Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councillor Stadnicek. Councillor Bresciani.
Thank you very much. So thank you, ladies, for being here. We do have a school liaison committee. Do you know if this was ever discussed with that group at all, through the chair?
Yes, I have notes on all this stuff. So the issue was discussed at the September 13th, 2021 School Board's City Council Liaison Committee, at which time your city administration presented a proposal, and it came up with a project that would be about $1.78 million per year, and which would come down to Regina Public, our schools, having to pay about $500,000 yearly to do that.
Thank you. And through the chair, what was the discussion at that time as to that percentage of what the Regina Public would have to pay? As you've indicated, the complement and the whole purpose of how this would help, why has Regina Public then not moved forward with that through the chair?
I think it's the money. Yeah, we're in need of putting all of our money into the classrooms and to a lot of other places, and transportation is somewhere that we just don't have the funding. But we do have a city council school board liaison meeting next week, and we will be talking about this subject.
Okay, great, thank you. Our administration did reach out to other municipalities across Canada, and it is proven that similar to what Regina does, there was only one other city, which was Windsor, that has done something different where they've split the percentage. Is that something, again, that I would hope would be taken back to consider? Is that, do you know the discussion? Because I think the percentage was about 24% from school boards, 40% from the province, and 36% from the city. As we're all, I think we're all in the same boat, right? Dollars, we all fight for dollars, and the downloading continues, right? So is that something that will be at the table where there's going to be some dollars that come from school boards? And if it be the government, I guess, obviously the government, but that has to be a high priority as well. Is that something that would be discussed next week through you, Madam Mayor?
We're going to be discussing this whole topic next week at our meeting, and I can't say if we'll be able to commit to anything or not.
Okay, and just the last question, do you know how many high school students there are that would be, they're in the divisions, in both divisions?
I know in our division, we have 6,800 in our school, high school kids in our school division.
Okay, and do you know what the cost then would be? The cost?
I don't know.
Okay.
No, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay, good, thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you, Councillor Bresciani. Councillor Mancinelli.
Thank you. Just a quick question for clarification, if I've understood the conversation. Should this 18 and under change go forward, You've already said that you have no control over budgets, but would be willing to advocate to the provincial government for some type of backfilling or cooperation. You've also stated that you would be able to educate and promote transit use within the schools. I'm just wondering if you have the ability to measure and keep track of the use of transit should this come about. Could you prove the case for things like field trips, which you say may be accessible for people to use this transit system? And could you account for the monetary gain it's given the school system in your lobby efforts if this should go forth to the province? Would that be an achievable thing to ask of you?
I think probably.
Yeah, I think certainly we always measure any initiative we go through, and so we want to evaluate it. So yeah, certainly there'd be measures in place to evaluate it.
Just, I just have to suss this out for a second. There's only one taxpayer. I understand the comments. So in tracking this for the efficiency, do you think you could prove the case for this being a trustworthy system, or would that be a potential for going forward? And is this the type of thing that the province generally cooperates with and promotes when they're looking for efficiency out of your level of control?
I don't know.
I'm
Don't
not
know?
sure.
I don't know.
Not
sorry.
sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mancinelli. I'm going to ask a question, and I do sit on the school board city liaison committee. When this was brought up previously, it was the notion that there'd be contribution, and questions asked last week were that there's not jurisdictions across the country that don't have school board involvement. And so what makes the city of Regina's school board different than all of those other cities kind of across the country in terms of their ability to contribute to creating bus passes for 12 to 18-year-olds?
I don't have the answer for that, I'm sorry.
I mean, other school boards in other provinces are able to control the mill rate, so they can, if they have need for increased funding, they can increase the taxes. We don't have that control anymore, so it's really out of our hands. It's completely the provincial government.
Thank you. You did say that you have transportation costs coming up in your budget that have escalated by $2 million?
1.6.
$1.6 million. What is that escalation due to?
Enrollments and inflationary impacts on fuel and contracted services. Our enrollments have gone up a lot, and our aim to keep going up.
Can you tell me again who authored the report on poverty in Regina?
I did.
Thank you. I see no further questions from council. I'll thank you very much for your presentation this afternoon and ask you to return to the gallery. I'll call upon Delegation Rob Proctor. I'll ask you to please introduce yourself for the record, the organization you're representing, if any, where you happen to live, and you'll have 5 minutes to address City Council, after which time you'll have the opportunity to answer any questions they may have for you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, thank you. My name is Rob Proctor. I am the Area Vice President for First Transit Canada. We are currently the contractor for the operations and maintenance of the paratransit service for the City of Regina. We've been a proud partner of the City of Regina and the paratransit ridership for well over 20 years, and we value the longstanding relationship that has been developed over time. It has long been one of our strongest contractual partnerships in Canada. We operate the service out of a local facility located just over on 4th Avenue East in Regina. There are currently 33 and soon to be 35 buses dedicated to the service, and we're responsible for the storage, the operations, the maintenance, the licensing, and the insuring of all those vehicles. For the paratransit service, we employ approximately 60 total staff members that operate the vehicles, supervise the operators, provide the maintenance services, as well as ensuring the fleet is clean and tidy at all times. Our operations staff are unionized and are represented under a collective agreement with ATU Local 588. We've reviewed the master plan that's being discussed on today's agenda. We're very excited to read about all of the initiatives being considered in the plan, many of which will transform public transit in the city. I'm here today simply to confirm our support of the master plan and let the City of Regina know that we're excited to stand with the city and support the initiatives that are included in the master plan. Many of these strategies will go a long way in driving the initiatives for long-term success and an enhanced service delivery model. We simply look forward to the continuation and strengthening of our partnership. We're excited about the master plan and the steps to move it forward, and are here to offer our assistance to the city to ensure all of the future endeavors are successful. That's it, short and sweet, and thank you for the opportunity to be here today.
Thank you, Mr. Proctor. I have a question coming from Councilor Bresciani.
Thank you very much, through you, Madam Mayor. So I just want to know about you look after the whole contract for paratransit.
That's correct.
Okay. So why is it that these vehicles, because they're all, what is the age of most of these paratransit buses through the chair?
I believe the average age is in around 3 or 4 years, is the average age.
Thank you. And can I ask, where do you get the fleet from?
They're provided by the City of Regina.
Okay, purchased somewhere, okay. So can I ask why here in the City of Regina, these vehicles are not allowed to go on the ring road through the chair?
Admittedly, I'm not entirely sure why. I mean, historically, it's been an issue around, I believe, around speed and safety and security. But admittedly, I'm not sure offhand why the ring road is an issue.
Okay, yeah, I just thought, because you look after that contract.
Yeah, so admittedly, I'm not the local general manager. I'm an area vice president. So admittedly, some of the day-to-day details I may not be as familiar with as perhaps I should be.
Okay.
Speaking more about some of the contractual relationships.
Okay. Okay, no, then that's all.
Okay.
Staff are always very friendly, I will say that.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Thanks very much. I see no further questions from council. Well, thank you very much for your presentation this afternoon.
Thank you, everybody.
You bet. Return to the gallery. Council, we have communication CR 22-53 from Blaine Dodds and Jim Elliott. Can I have someone move a motion to receive and file the communication CP 22-35 and CP 22-36? Thank you, Councillor Mancinelli, seconded by Councillor Stadnichuk. I'll call the question. Any opposed? Carried. We will now consider item CR 22-53 of the Transit Master Plan. I just want to note for council that Sean Rathwell, the project director for Dillon Consulting, will be on the line, present actually, and available for questions from council. Councillor Shaw, can I ask you to please introduce the report?
Thank you, Mayor Masters. After many hours of back and forth questions to our consultants, there was a vote of 10-1 to approve the master transit plan, and the executive the executive committee seeks concurrence on this. I would like to speak. Yeah, I would just like to ask a question to our administration before we go. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, just we'll grab a seconder for the motion on the transit plan. Thank you,
Okay.
Councillor Mancinelli. Now go ahead. Open the floor.
Thank you. For administration, we spoke with the school board, and I was wondering, has there ever been talks with trying to share this rider share, the responsibilities, the cost with the federal government, provincial government, anything like that? Has that ever been discussed prior to what's been discussed here through the chair?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Masters. So there's some history here.
Okay, thank you.
This goes back a number of years. There's been many discussions back and forth. In September of 2021, as the delegation indicated, Transit Administration put a report together and took it to the Liaison Committee. So Councillor Bresciani was right. I'll just maybe correct the city. It wasn't Windsor, it was Kingston that has the only shared model in Canada. All other jurisdictions that we had investigated have a very similar plan to what Regina has. The Kingston model is a shared funding model. So as the mayor indicated, 24% is paid by the school boards, 40% is paid, it's paid by the federal government, but it's paid through the gas tax. So it's existing money that is paid. The province has allocated 40% out of that gas tax funding to pay towards this program in Kingston. And then the municipalities, so the city of Kingston, pays 36%. So the proposal, so it was a lot of information that was put in front of the school boards. That discussion is going to come back to the table on Monday. We have a joint meeting. And the takeaway was for the school boards to have a look at the proposed funding. So it's $1.8 million, and what portion of that they would be willing to contribute. So a suggestion would be, and I'll just back up a little bit. Transit plans on bringing a report at the end of May on youth under 12 or 13, whatever it is, back to committee for consideration. We will have the information from the school boards after Monday's meeting, and we could incorporate some of what the findings are into the report that will come the end of May to have a discussion about whether committee and council would like to move forward with the 12 and under or 13 and under and consider the 18 and under in the future, which is what the Transit Master Plan actually indicates, that it would be a phased in approach. It will put considerable pressure on transit if you open it up to 18 and under right off the bat. There are approximately 10,000 students between the two school boards, and currently we have around 1,800 daily users of the current program. So my suggestion would be that we incorporate some of that discussion into the report that's coming at the end of the month, rather than making it a part of the master plan. And that'll be with many of the discussions that you'll have in the future. As the reports come forward, council will, of course, be able to make the decision on whether to move forward with what is being proposed, alter it, or not do it at all.
Thank you for that. My intention was to bring a motion forward pertaining to this, but in light of this conversation, I will refrain. I do want to say, though, that this isn't just an increase to their kids going to school. It's an increase to our economy. It's an increase to Regina in an economic level. If kids don't go to school, they can't get to school, they're not going to be in our workforce. It's going to cause a lot of problems further down the road. But I will say that in order for 18 or 13 to 18 get bus passes, they need to be registered in a school or some type of an educational component. So that's something that I'll be strongly, I believe, I think our schools would feel the same way with that. So that's all I have for now.
Thanks very much, Councillor Shaw. Councillor Stevens.
Great, thank you. Through the chair, appreciate the report. Lengthy discussion last week. It's future focused. I know there was some criticism about where we're at. The whole point of spending this money was to figure out how do we get somewhere better when it comes to transit usage. Mr. Onrait, you had mentioned that at the end of May, we'll see a report specific to that one recommendation. When will we see other windows to consider, for instance, increasing in this budget cycle, other elements of this plan, specifically increasing frequency? Does that have to come by way of an independent council motion, or is that naturally going to come in the budgeting process?
Once the master plan is approved, we'll go back to the table. There are, as you pointed out, a number of recommendations in that plan. There will be some consideration as to what is brought forward. When you think of the frequency piece, As council is aware, we have a major project going on for 11th Avenue, which will be starting, or a phase of that starting this year, and then we're into 23 and 24. So we need to take all this into consideration because of the time points that would be on the outside of 11th Avenue, but there are also stops on 11th Avenue that will move forward. So there's a lot of detail to work out, but there will be, we're just going through business cases right now for the 23-24 budget cycle.
Okay, thank you. Through the chair, just a heads up to ELT. This is one of 3 master plans I'm going to insist receives serious attention in the budget process, which I'm not willing to support unless we see some gains. So to transit, please have some numbers ready as we go forward. And if a business case does not appear for increased frequency, I'm going to really push that. So please have numbers ready on major routes, things that we can take on. Second question regarding the downtown. I understand there is now some consensus about the downtown plan when it comes to transit stops. However, in the early iteration of this master plan discussion, the status quo was recommended. That has changed. Is what we see in the plan now a reflection of kind of a give and take in the interests of Harvard versus transit? Or is this actually a transit and transit user focused downtown connection plan?
Through you, Mayor Masters. I'll start and then I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Pacey to answer, as their firm did a lot of the research on this. So this is not a reflection of one corporation. We have worked closely with the downtown business group, so through the RD bid, and through kind of the evolution of transit systems today. I know there was a question about a hub. Transit systems today are not locking into one singular hub, as it doesn't allow for flexibility moving forward, and it doesn't line up with shortened frequency times. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Pacey to add further comment.
So we specifically focused on the downtown as part of this work, and that involved bringing on some key downtown stakeholders, including the council, to have those specific downtown discussions. So you were part of earlier versions of this, and like many parts of the plan, we started with a lot of ideas and then refined them into what ends up in the plan. With the downtown, there were versions that were that we investigated of all different ranges of things with, you know, bus-only roads and all that kind of thing. But with that sort of collaborative approach we took, the outcome that we've got is a solid outcome for transit, and it is underpinned by that high frequency service that does provide people with more opportunities. And like Mr. Onrait said, moving away from that kind of smaller town, older fashioned single time where everyone comes into one single point and one hub, and providing basically more opportunities for people.
Thank you. Again, a heads up, I don't need a response now. That was very much appreciated. When this discussion comes forward, I'm going to have questions about, if we go down this road, how are we turning snow and ice clearing into a gold standard in the downtown? Because you're going to have to require people moving quickly back and forth. Curbs, shelters. If we're decentralizing, it could feasibly mean more infrastructure spread out. It also might question some of the downtown infrastructure projects that we had anticipated with the assumption that that plan was going to stay on 11th. So those are some of the questions that I'll pose as we see this unfold. Other questions specific to concerns raised by residents. The on-demand service, I understand it's a chief priority. Just to communicate this to residents, is it true that you can just phone and make a booking? I know there's an app-based program. I understand there's a phone number as well as a website. Can you just confirm how one would access it and how you plan on improving accessibility in the future?
Through you, Mayor Masters, I'll ask Mr. Bells to comment.
Through the chair, currently our on-demand pilot project has 3 options for customers to make a booking. So, and you're correct, Councillor, that they can use the web-based, their app, or they can phone into Paratransit and make a booking as well.
Thank you. Considering that some pretty committed transit users are not aware of that, I would just request that this is roped into any future communication strategy that administration has undertaken. But good work so far. Concerns that Canada Day service is restricted and cannot be utilized to get to certain events, Sunday service, etc. Can you broadly explain how the plan will advance some of those concerns, not just for paratransit, but also for regular transit users?
Through you, Mayor Masters, Mr. Bells.
Through the chair, I'm going to ask Mr. Looney to provide that answer.
Through you, Mayor Masters. So the plan does call to expand our Sunday service, in particular the frequency, moving from 60-minute frequency to 30-minute frequency, as well as expanding the hours of operation, so running to 9 p.m. and eventually 11 p.m. at night. And that will also include the holiday service as well. So whatever's happening on a Sunday will happen on the holidays as well.
Okay, thank you. Just final remark about 18 and under and that general discussion. Simple math shows that if that fee were eliminated, a family of 2 would immediately save $1,280. If you increase the mill rate, either the education or municipal mill rate, there's at least $1,000 worth of savings. So you just do simple math, and even if we cover it in its entirety, we're already saving money for residents. We talk about one taxpayer. In this case, it's true. Often it's a bit of an abstraction. Whether it's in the education mill rate or the civic, same process. So these are real savings that would save our residents. These aren't students in another system. These are our residents and their families who would save. I also don't want to see the same process that got us to the class trip program that took 2 years, tens of thousands of dollars in labor time, a lot of hot air exchange at all these liaison committees for us to come back and implement a $4,000 program that we knew how much it cost initially. So I want this to be a meaningful discussion and not a circular going around and seeing who's responsible for taking care of residents. Love the plan. I look forward to seeing it implemented.
Thank you, Councillor Stevens. Councillor Stadnichuk.
Thank you, Mayor Masters. Through the chair, I have a couple of questions, again, coming out of the presentations from the delegations today. So there was a question about exiting, if you're a wheelchair user, and how you exit the bus. So could someone clarify what is the current practice for wheelchair users when they're exiting and entering the bus? Are they the last ones to exit? And I'm just wondering if that could be explained and clarified, and if there's any plans to improve the system.
Mr. Onrait, you're good if I go to Mr. Bells? Yeah.
Thank you. Through the chair. The normal process is that the customers would exit the bus first and then new customers would come onto the bus. Jamie McKenzie may be correct that there is some times that it does happen. And again, we've talked to Mr. McKenzie that if those things happen, I'd like to hear about them so we can address them with our operational staff and correct those behaviors. But again, the normal practice that I would say is consistent is the exiting passengers go out first and then take on the new passengers.
Okay, thank you for that. My second question is regarding the fares for youth and seniors. The appendix D shows the comparison of fare structures, and our senior rate is fairly low. It's $30, but our youth rate is quite high at $64. And then I noticed that the city of Victoria has the same rate of $45 for both youth and seniors. So could someone explain what the thinking or the rationale is, why you would have such a different rate for both for seniors and youth, why youth would be $64 and so much higher than what the senior rate is?
This one's up for grabs. Mr. Bells, thank you.
Through the chair, I'll start and then hand it over to Mr. Looney. Again, we belong to a Canadian Urban Transit Association, and we definitely talk on an annual basis of what other cities are doing with their transit system, and fare median comes up many a times. in the last couple of years, we just reviewed our fare structure and looked at our rates for our adults, our youth, and our seniors, and we made some adjustments at that time. Again, most Canadian municipalities' transit systems have a breakdown that you see in front of you in Regina, where the senior rate is different from the youth rate. Not to say that there isn't some municipalities and transit systems where your youth rates and senior rates are more in line if you're speaking to a councillor.
Okay, thank you. And through the chair, there was also a concern raised about the single fare cost versus monthly fares. Has there been any consideration or thoughts about adjusting our single fare rate or making it more affordable if you bulk purchase bus fares?
Through the chair, again, we did a review of our fare structure just a number of years ago, and what we found that and also with our engagement of our customers, most customers wanted to have incentives of purchasing monthly passes or semi-annual passes or annual passes. So when we did that review and made the adjustments to our fare structure, our ridership that is loyal to us, they see the benefits in monthly passes.
Okay, thank you for that. I have no further questions, but I do want to speak in favor of the Transit Master Plan. I do think it is a very good plan that that will make taking the bus a lot easier. Today, I did take the bus to come to council meeting just to make sure that I understood what the experience was like. And even before we have started to create more frequent and direct bus routes, it took me 12 minutes from Lakeview to get here. It was very easy. I only had to walk 2 blocks to the bus pass, to the bus stop, and it was very easy. So with more frequent bus routes, more direct bus routes, I think that we're going to have a really great transit system, and it will encourage a lot more people to use. I would like to see quite a robust communications plan about taking the bus to encourage more adults, more people who work or who want to just shop downtown to consider taking the bus. And again, I was able to text, as one of the delegations said, I was able to text. I was able to post something on social media while I was taking the bus. Those are things you can't do when you're driving your car. So I really, I'm happy to see this master plan, and I look forward to continuing to improve it in the future. Thank you.
Councillor Bresciani, please go
Thank you
ahead.
very much. So thank to the staff. I know it's been a long haul for this report, this plan. I'd like to know about when we talked about seniors, and there's been a discussion about looking at fees for youth, but there was an undertaking that I had asked at executive, and I just want to know, when is that, would that be coming at the same time to look at seniors as well, or reduced fees for seniors or zero fees? Will that be, when would that come back? I think it was an undertaking, but I just wasn't sure of that, when that would come back.
Through you, Mayor Masters, I'll ask Mr. Bells to comment. I don't have the exact timing of the work for the information to come back to council.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, through the chair, as Mr. Onright has mentioned, in our upcoming fare report on the youth under 12, we will address the youth under 18 and the seniors option that you wanted us to look into as well. So we'll put it all into one report and talk about it at next executive meeting.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. It was also talked about the Transit Live for paratransit users, and that's not there yet. And one of the comments that I had heard that it's more because it's a door-to-door service drop-off, but sometimes there is a little bit of a gap there. So can I just ask that that if sometimes it's for the parents, especially individuals with an intellectual disability, you don't know when the bus is coming, so it may not be for the person, it might be for the people, the support people. that are, because the bus is not always on exact times. So can I just elaborate, is there gonna be funding in this for, is that a plan to get that software and get that for the paratransit users through the chair?
Through you, Mayor Masters, I'll ask Ms. Griffin to provide comment.
Thank you.
Through you, Mayor Masters. The plan is when we procure new software that will be looking after the on-demand services and paratransit services, there should be capacity within that software so that the paratransit buses can also be seen and tracked live like you can with the Transit Live buses. Likely that software will be phased in with the on-demand piece coming in first and paratransit added on after. It will likely go in 2 phases. So I'm not able to say for certainty exactly when that will happen for paratransit, but certainly looking for that piece to come into play in the near future.
Okay, thank you. Just a comment. Again, that sometimes is a safety issue as well for individuals who wait for paratransit, sometimes even in the winter. It's a real good connector for the support that's waiting with the individual. So I really appreciate that, and if there was the urgency there as well. In regards to the longer, how long does a person on paratransit have to ride the bus right now? Like, what's the longest period of time? Is it still like an hour and some through the chair, or will it be reduced with this?
Ms. Griffin, please.
Through you, Mayor Masters, the current maximum travel time that anyone is on the bus for paratransit is 75 minutes. That would be fairly exceptional. It would be mostly for people going home from large groups of programs. So for example, if you have a very full bus of people going home from a program like Saskatchewan Abilities Council, where we're doing multiple drop-offs, the ones on the outskirt might have to ride in excess of an hour, but it doesn't happen very frequently. The Transit Master Plan does call for that to be reduced to 60 minutes. And with COVID-19, we've had a lot of transition with our programs. And so we have been working currently to rearrange the buses and the timings so that we actually will be ready to go with that 60-minute window right away. And that's nothing that needs to come through for approval. It's something that we can institute immediately. And so we're currently rebuilding sort of the trips and the runs to try to make sure that we're staying within that 60-minute window maximum.
So, you know, again, that's 1 hour that someone is riding a paratransit bus. It's a long time. And I question the fact when we look at, and I think it would be reduced and efficiency of time when we actually can access the ring road, because anyone who lives around the peripheral of in the newer neighborhoods, they're the ones that particularly are riding the buses an hour. Mm-hmm. And so I think that that for sure needs to change, because again, for efficiency, but also for time for the individual riding. If they have also medical issues, it's very hard to ride a bus for an hour. So I hope that's a takeaway, that I understand that the ring road is going to be looked at as because I know other cities do not, they use they can go over to 100. They're like a vehicle, is what I understand. And that will be looked at. Is that accurate?
Through you, Mayor Masters, the plan is that I am meeting with staff next week at staff meetings. That will be on our agenda to be looked at next week. Certainly in some discussions, one of the issues that staff have with buses taking the ring road is that paratransit is very fluid, and we have a lot of last minute cancellations, and we hate to see that service wasted. And so when the bus travels through the city, it enables us to add additional calls on when we have those cancellations and changes. And so in some cases, it could affect our efficiency, but it's something that we need to look at because there definitely are times and circumstances and certain seasons, for example, when we're free of snow and ice, that it definitely would work for some trips. But I definitely want to do some more consultation before determining a firm policy change.
Thank you. It's in the plan, it talks for new area and bus stops. So as the transit increases, will there be then bus stops added to the new areas for connectivity through the chair?
Through the chair, yes, when we review our frequency and our new design of our local routes and our commuter routes, we will look at the bus stops as well.
And would there be extra funding that's needed, or is that going to be part of when we add a bus stop, or we add is there a certain milestone between distance that we actually include these? Because in the winter, blowing snow, all that, especially, I'm not going to say just in any area. Through the chair.
Through the chair, yes, anytime we add a route or make changes to our routes, we have the funding to, again, address our bus stop distance between travel. So again, we look at those parameters, and if we're missing a bus stop, we will have to put some of those in place, especially in new routes and the changes that the Transit Master Plan is putting forward to us if we go on different roads.
One moment, please. Mr. Onrait, you want to speak?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Masters, I'll maybe just add, through the new winter maintenance program, we're just doing a post-winter review this month. And part of that discussion will be connectivity routes or pathway systems that connect paratransit stops to look at, to actually review. We incorporated some changes in the new winter maintenance program, and we're going to review those. And the report that will come to council will have recommendations in the fall as to what changes we are going to make to enhance that service.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bresciani. Councillor Skidniak, you were up next.
Thank you. Okay, so I have just a couple of questions. The first one I'm wondering about is in terms of the plans to expand the frequency and hours of operation for Sunday service and holiday service. Is this something that will be brought forward in the budget for the next budget, or do you know at this time?
Through you, Mayor Masters. So as I had noted earlier, so that's discussions we are in right now as the business plans are being built and the timing of increased service. There's a lot of things we need to take into consideration. 11th Avenue is one of them because that is a hub of where the service connects to. So some of what is being proposed in the Transit Master Plan will come forward and for the 23-24 timing. Some of that will be capital on our EV bus transition over to EV buses. That'll be on the capital side, and then we'll have a look at the operating side to see what will come forward and the timing of that.
Okay, I can understand that in relation to increased frequency of service, but in terms of expanding the hours of Sunday and stat holidays, 11th Avenue or something like that shouldn't interfere with that. Is that right?
That, through your Mayor Masters, that's correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And my next question is, so there was a discussion about Kingston having a shared funding model which supports them offering fare-free transit for high school students. I know that Victoria, BC also, they don't have, they have fare-free transit for people 18 and under. Do they offer, do they have a shared funding model as well, or is this just the municipality who pays for any lost revenue there?
Through you, Mayor Masters, I'll ask Mr. Looning to comment.
Through you, Mayor Masters, I'll actually ask Mr. Pacey to comment on that.
Okay, through you, Mayor Masters. So the situation in Victoria is a different funding model overall. So in the case of Victoria, yes, the city does pay for that 13 to 18-year-old fare pass, but the Victoria public transport system is a regional transport system, transit system, and so their funding comes, a third of it from the province, and then the rest of it comes from fare revenue, but also from a separate property tax that's not levied through the city, and a fuel tax as well. And so everyone in that whole region pays those property taxes, which pay for, and the province as well pays for the operation of the system. And in that sense, the city of Victoria paying for that 13 to 18 pass only applies to residents in the city of Victoria, not across the entire transit system. So the actual fare for the entire transit system is a child fare for the 13 to 18, a youth fare. But if you live in the city of Victoria, they will subsidise you to have a free pass for their citizens only, and that is the only sort of direct payment that the city pays to the transit system, because the transit system is funded by a separate tax that is not a city tax. So it's an interesting system that it comes from different directions, but I guess with it being mainly a provincial and separately tax-funded system, the city has, I guess, more leeway to pay for at least their citizens, which is only one part of that transit system, to get free travel in that age range.
Okay, I was not expecting that complex of an answer. Thank you for all that information. I think now I just have a few comments, which is I certainly support the transit master plan. I'm a transit user myself, and I look forward to continuing to use it more, watching it improve, promoting it for residents to use as well, and helping out in whatever way I can. I think there's lots of great content in here, and I also look forward to us exploring ways to expand fare-free transit beyond what's recommended in the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sakiniak. Councillor Findura.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, I'll start with a question on the. We heard from the delegation about the travel training. Can I get a little information? Because I do believe that the travel training was postponed during COVID, and then just more detail about how successful that was up to that point, and then the report states that we need to move on with that to be a little bit more successful. Mayor?
Through you, Mayor Masters. So the travel training, as indicated by the delegation, was successful. It had increased quite rapidly. The 4 to 40 program we're very familiar with, not only in transit, but we work with 4 to 40 in our fire department, as we have an individual over there that participates. And that program has been going on for 3 years. So I think the discussion about, and it is in the Transit Master Plan, so you talk about assistance for seniors or newcomers to the city that need help. This program is very effective, and we would look at expanding that program moving forward. And you are correct, Councillor. The program was put on hold during COVID, but is being reinstated, I believe, this week or next week, is starting up again. So very, very good program, and great partnership that we have with that.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Honor. Madam Mayor, through you, just a few comments. Transit has come leaps and bounds from the time that I started here in 2009. I do recall sitting in this chamber trying to increase the funding. It took a while, and I'm excited to be here at today to see that all of that pounding on the desk and all the discussions and communication, that we are here. I know, and we understood that it's going to take a while. You can't just turn it on a dime and fix things right now. It takes a lot of courage and takes a lot of energy and funds to figure out what we want to be. So I'm pleased to be here, and for this council to have a stake in moving this transit master plan forward for all. One comment I'll make again, I believe administration has been around before, heard me say about Warrington, England, 166,000 population, seniors get free bus pass. And I've talked about that. Talking about economy, talking about having extra cash to spend elsewhere, that's what seniors are doing there. And that bus pass too gets them anywhere in England. No, not Wales, Scotland, but it gets them anywhere in England. So if they go into London, they can get on any kind of transportation. So I'm just curious if reaching out to Europe it's a little bit far because we're not as sophisticated as the Europeans traveling by trains and buses and all that. But I'm just curious to find out where else do we reach out to see who does what out there. I don't want to be spending too much money on that one. Paratransit has really moved up quite a bit to where we came from. I'm excited with the new buses and the way the deferral or the refusal rate went down from 8 to 1. We're probably going to get it further. I did talk about doing a little undertaking, figure out how the taxi will play a role in refusal rate or in the areas of helping out with making sure that no one is left behind on a bus stop, in a party, or in on the function. Everyone gets a ride home. So I'm excited about this. I am pleased to be here, part of this, seeing it actually getting started. Looking forward to watching it deliver on what it's written in this report. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Findura. Mr. Onrait, this may be late in the coming, but I'm just wondering, do you have any comments about the overall master transit plan?
Thank you, Mayor Masters. So I'll answer Councillor Findura's question first about who we reach out to. As Mr. Bell's indicated, we belong to the Canadian Urban Transit Association. We are very well connected with that group. And when we need information about transit, whether it be fares, equipment, operations, org structures, they are a great association and have no problem sharing information with us, as well as data, and we get that through an annual report. I think when you look at this master plan, as I indicated last week in exec, it creates the framework to help with the decision making as implementation comes forward. And I think there is a balance that needs to be struck. Transit systems are expensive. They have many benefits to the community. And I think when you look at what the implementation plan actually looks like, you're taking into consideration some of the economic drivers around the community that will help support transit or actually need transit. And I think, the comment from one of the delegates that spoke earlier, getting transit into locations that we normally haven't done a real great job in the past. And, primarily due to the timing of how we do our planning and how we look at implementing a service. So we've done a lot of work in the last year on, when you open up a new area, what is the timing of getting transit in? I think in Councillor Hawkins' ward in Harbour Landing, that was proven out to getting transit in that location first. And as I indicated last week, that is our highest use area, both to the university and to our other routes. So I think you really have to find a balance, and this puts the right framework together, which was missing. We see it as we bring master plans forward. We saw it in the fire master plan. You're not going to implement everything at once. The comments earlier, you have one taxpayer, and you have to find that balance as we have many, many competing priorities. But I think this step forward is an important piece of work, and definitely look forward to the discussions moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Onrait. Seeing no further questions from council, I'll close it off. Councillor Deputy Mayor Shaw, did you wish to add any final comment?
I do. Actually, I have a couple questions, if you mind. No. I'm having a hard time when we talk about increasing the frequency of the transit and how this will increase the growth in our population in our city. When we heard today from two delegates that increasing frequency was not the concern, it was a matter of knowing how to get on the buses. We heard from our fellow councillor, it only took her 12 minutes to get downtown. So I don't believe the frequency and the duration of trips are always the barrier that keeps people from getting on transit. We need to look at more of the education to people and what they cause. The increase from 2019 or 2012 to 2019 was 1.25 million or 14%. We see in the master transit plan that it's 625% increase is achievable by 2025 or 2025 years. I'm having a really hard time with that number being the number, and how do we support that number just by increasing transit, the fares, having ride, being able to use your credit card and bank card. 5.1% uses transit, 3.3% uses paratransit. Population growth in the last 5 years has been 4.8%. How do we feel that the population is going to grow by increasing our transit and just our frequencies in our transit and a couple of other things in our transit? I don't believe that that's actually an achievable. We as a city need to look at the city as a business, ran like a business.
Councillor Shaw, I'm gonna call you to task here. It's to round up the debate on the presentation coming out of executive committee, which had a vote attached to it. So as opposed to personal opinion, that was the opening. You had a chance earlier to speak. This is about rounding out debate relative to the motion before council. Motion before council.
Right. I can't support this being a taxpayer, and I just feel that we as a city could do a better job at finding the barriers to population growth, and I don't believe it's the transit. There's many other barriers that we face. Thank you.
City Clerk. Thank you, Councillor Shaw. City Clerk, could you please call the vote?
Through you, Mayor Masters, Councillor LeBlanc is absent from the meeting, so the motion carries 9-1, with the following members voting in favor. Councillors Hawkins, Bresciani, Stadnichuk, Findura, Zakidniak, Stevens, Mole, Mancinelli, and Mayor Masters, and Councillor Shaw voting against.
Thank you very much to the clerks. Moving on, council will be considering item CR 22-51. We do have a delegation. I would like to call upon delegation Patrick Bergerman. To please introduce yourself for the record, the organization you're representing, if any, and where you're calling from. You'll have 5 minutes to address City Council, after which time you'll have the opportunity to answer any questions they may have for you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Your Worship, and fellow councillors for considering our offer to purchase land east of the Co-op Refinery Complex at fair market value. I'm Patrick Bergerman, Associate Vice President of Energy Roadmap for FCL, and I'll now highlight the request that has been presented in your provided meeting material. I'd like to acknowledge and thank City Administration and City Council members who have worked with us over the past several months to help bring this very exciting project to life. As we have advanced into the front-end engineering design stage of our Integrated Ag Complex, or IAC, it became clear that we needed to engage with the city to reconsider the land currently optioned. The land purchase we are approaching you with today accommodates both the needs of our business and respects the quality of life for residents of the City of Regina. The land allocated in this new option agreement will accommodate an optimized design for the IAC with the required access for emergency responders along with safe and efficient access for transportation and logistics providers. These access elements are vital requirements for our decision-making regarding this project. And we think, together with the support of your administration, we've arrived at a solution that ensures our access requirements are met. As we publicly announced on January 17th, FCL is pleased to be moving forward with a historic investment. The investments we plan for the IAC will be north of $2 billion, with anticipated direct and indirect economic impacts of $4.5 billion. Those investments do not include the carbon capture, utilization, and storage, or CCUS, investments announced by FCL to the tune of an additional $500 million. Our carbon capture projects are important because they will extend the relevance and ongoing operations of our existing facilities at the Co-op Refinery Complex. All told, our investments in the low-carbon economy in the City of Regina will be at least $2.5 billion. Last year, FCL publicly stated that our enterprise-wide emission commitment will see us reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by 40% by 2030. We also shared our goal of net zero emissions by 2050. Our investment in the IAC and CCUS are instrumental in achieving these targets and are in alignment with the plan City Council has set out for Regina. With regards to the planning work related to the IAC, as highlighted in the opening of this address, as our work has progressed, it has become increasingly clear that the current option lands configuration presents insurmountable challenges for us in terms of safe access to our site, as well as access to necessary rail, roadway, pipeline, and utility corridors. In particular, the current land option configuration did not provide the necessary unimpeded access from all sides, a critical safety requirement for this industrial complex. It also positioned the renewable diesel plant adjacent to the Uplands residential area, which would increase traffic along with the associated sights and sounds of a busy 24/7 industrial complex. As a result, the current land configuration would also increase emissions associated with the operation. We appreciate the work the city initiated to present solutions that address the challenges we face in moving the IAC forward here in Regina. Solutions that will accommodate an optimized design, which is critical to ensuring we are ultimately able to move forward with the investment in the current proposed location. The solution is a win-win for the city as well in addressing potential concerns for its residents. As stated earlier, we are looking to design the IAC with the goal of net neutral by 2050 in mind. Moving forward with the currently proposed land parcel east of the refinery allows for proper access via road and rail transport and provides utility access in a way that our current land option configuration does not. This is an exciting opportunity for our organization, and we look forward to partnering in a meaningful way with the City of Regina as we chart our course towards the low-carbon economy. We look forward to working with you to invest in our collective futures as we look to achieve our vision of building sustainable communities together. With that, I turn the floor back to you, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bergerman. I will open up the floor of council for anyone who may have questions for the delegate. Councillor Moll.
Thank you, Mr. Bergerman. I just want to first say thank you to FCL for your continual investment into the Regina economy. This is huge. It's huge for Regina, huge for taxpayers in the city. So I'm just curious about a couple of things. I might have missed this, I was aware of it, but $500 million carbon capture, utilization, and storage investment. So this looks to me, in your small paragraph, this is going to be on the existing co-op site. Is that correct?
Thank you for the question, Councillor. Through the chair, yes, that is correct, Councillor Moll. The carbon capture utilization and storage investments would be on the existing 2 hydrogen plants that we have at the Co-op Refinery Complex. So it allows us to significantly reduce the emissions at the current CRC site. Also provides some infrastructure for us to tap into with new hydrogen production that will be coming online as part of the renewable diesel complex that's coming forward.
Okay, and in addition, you're going to build another hydrogen plant separate from this work with carbon capture?
Through the chair, yes, that is correct, Councillor Moll. We have our existing hydrogen capacity is fully utilized by the CRC production, and the new hydrogen plant would be purpose-built to serve the needs of the renewable diesel facility.
Excellent, that's great to hear. I think this question was asked of you last time. So with all of this $2.5 billion of work, just confirming that you're going to be hiring local labor on these projects.
Through the chair, yes, Councillor Moll, we are always proud to tap into the skill sets of local labor in the Regina vicinity. That's certainly our focus and intent, is to make sure that we can secure knowledgeable workers in the local marketplace. And if we need to extend further, we would still strive to have the right expertise from within the province. And of course, if we have to continue to extend further, we will, but our focus is to drive employment locally as best we can.
Excellent, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Councillor Moll. I have a question for you from Councillor Bresciani.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here today. Just want to ask, what is the time frame if this goes through the chair?
Thank you, Councillor Bresciani. Through the chair, we are currently transitioning into front-end engineering and design phase. That will take us the balance of around 10 to 12 months. We would then transition into detailed engineering, which would take us a similar time frame, so around 10 to 12 months for detailed engineering. And intent would be shovels in the ground essentially come 2024 once we have the design plans finalized. That timeline would put us online with commissioning in about mid-2026, and the plan would be the fully utilization of the assets by early 2027. So a big part of the importance of us getting certainty on our location is, as we start to do some of the engineering design right now, knowing where we are going to build the assets does have an impact on how we would lay out the mixture of various components of the integrated ag complex. So having certainty of where we can build on this new land parcel will be very important to us as we move into that phase. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councillor Bresciani. Mr. Bergerman, I see no further questions from Council. I'll thank you very much for your presentation this afternoon and ask that you please leave the meeting.
Will do. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
We'll now consider item CR 22-51, FCL Integrated Ag Complex, additional land option. Councillor Shaw, could I ask that you please introduce the report?
Thank you, Mayor Masters. This was a report brought to us with a land change in order to help the build with Viterra and FCL. Executive Committee seeks concurrence in this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have any questions from members of Council on the report? Count to one moment. I need a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Hawkins. Do two. Councillor Stevens.
Great, thank you. This could be a very exciting economic opportunity as it's been described by both FCL and city administration. I think a lot of work went into negotiating this on behalf of executive leadership. The fact that it does, at least on the surface, align with our own sustainability goals as well as that of the federal and provincial government makes it commendable. My one issue, as I've expressed to my colleagues now and in the past, has been the unresolved matter of the costs associated with the hydrocarbon spill, which have not been recovered. And the utility ratepayers have been required to shoulder that cost until such time as this matter has been resolved. I recognize that these are two different issues on the surface, one being negotiating the future expansion and the land acquisition and option agreement, and the other being the effects on our sewer system of the hydrocarbon spill. But I would argue that it's actually quite integral. We are going to see a massive expansion of industrial capacity, of refining capacity in the north. There must be regulations, and there must be accountability, and there must be consequences through various means when those rules have been broken. And so I would actually like to propose that we table this until such time as the costs associated with the hydrocarbon spill has been recovered. If that check is written tomorrow, we're back in business, and we can see this on the next agenda for consideration. I'd like to see the project go forward, but I cannot in good faith enter into an agreement that requires my consent unless that cost has been recovered and the utility rate payers made whole. So I put that tabling motion forward to council for consideration.
Thank you, Councillor Stevens. Councillor Stevens requires a seconder. Councillor Sakidniak seconds. Please, City Clerk, please call the vote on the tabling motion.
Through you, Mayor Masters, the motion is lost 7-3 with the following members voting against: Councillors Hawkins, Bresciani, Findura, Mole, Mancinelli, Shaw, and Mayor Masters. And the following 3 members voting in favor are Councillors Stadnichuk, Zakidniak, and Stevens.
Councillor Stevens, you have some time left. Do you wish to continue talking?
I don't.
Thank you. Councillor Zakidniak.
Thank you. So I just have a couple of questions. I would like for administration to provide some more information about the minor contamination of groundwater by the original city landfill described on page 3 and potential remediation. And this is mainly for the benefit of the public to get some more information, clarity on what that means or what the implications are. Through the chair, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Masters. I'll refer that question to Mr. Kuntz.
Through the chair, through our permit to operate, we're required to operate a monitoring system around the landfill. Current landfill designs are quite a bit more sophisticated than they were back in the 50s and 60s. So the old portion of the landfill was essentially a pit that was dug and garbage placed in it directly over the aquifer. We've noticed in the last few years some low levels of certain chemicals that are pretty common around landfills out the east side of the landfill, moving in the direction of the groundwater flow. The levels are quite low, and we have them delineated, which means we've got, we know where they are, we know their spatial extent, and we continue to monitor that. We're required to do that by the Ministry of Environment on an ongoing basis and well past the life of the landfill after it's closed and decommissioned. If it were to pose any risk to, humans or people in the area or to wildlife in the area, which it currently doesn't, and there's no indication it ever will, we'd be required to do some remedial action based on EMPA 2010. However, right now we continue to follow EMPA 2010 and monitor and manage the risk as it is present.
Thank you. And my, I believe, last question is, it is noted that the city would incur the costs to redesign the existing landfill plan because this would involve changing it. Or find an alternate location. Can you give some more information about those costs or that process as well, please?
Mr. Lacey, who am I going to?
So through you, Madam Mayor, I will ask Mr. Kuntz to provide additional comment on the question.
Thank you. Mr. Tony? Sorry, did you say Mr. Kuntz or Mr. Doney? Okay, sorry, I heard Curtis. I apologize.
Through you, Mayor Masters. So siting of a landfill is different depending on circumstances. We're I guess fortunate in this case to have the landfill where it is and have the opportunity to potentially expand it towards the east, towards Prince of Wales Drive. Because there's an existing landfill right adjacent, we would have some additional siting work to do. I just want to be clear that we don't have a design per se for the western lands, and the design of a landfill is quite expensive and the construction of it. So we don't have that stage of it yet. What we do have is an environmental impact assessment for the westlands. If we were to go east, I would suspect, and we've had some conversations with the Ministry of Environment, and they have not indicated that this wouldn't be true, that an amendment on our current environmental assessments and whatnot would likely be adequate to expand to the east. So siting a new landfill, big expensive endeavor. Expanding to a new land, it's quite a bit more on the low end of the estimates that we're seeing there.
Mr. Lacey, did you have an additional comment?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. So through you, Madam Mayor, maybe just in addition to Mr. Kunz's comments, as an example, he's indicated we haven't done detailed designs on how that expansion would work, but even with the western lands that we're considering optioning here, we know we'd have to move Fleet Street, and we'd have to move Fleet Street further west to be able to expand the landfill. And I've been told, for example, the costs of doing that would be $10 to $12 million. On the east side, where the city has city-owned land as well, where there's a possibility, and that would be the first place we'd look to expand now eastward as opposed to westward. You wouldn't have to move a road, but as an example, we do know there's a pipeline that runs under there that we would have to investigate, whether that line could be moved. But we believe any moving of a pipeline would likely be substantially less than relocating Fleet Street. So, overall, at this point in time, there's high-level information, and we believe that that there's substantial costs with moving westward, and that there are opportunities to look at other options to expand the landfill that in fact might be less costly. And as Mr. Kunz has indicated, we've had conversations with the Ministry of Environment, and we believe there's opportunity to look at, as a first option, expanding eastward as opposed to westward in the future. I would note as well that the existing life of the landfill is currently 27 years, is what we're projecting. I think as we continue to look at sustainability practices, the opportunity for that current location's life to even be longer. So there is, we believe, from administration's perspective, quite a bit of time here to plan for a future landfill expansion while allowing this significant economic opportunity to proceed.
Great, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you very much, Councillor Skiniak. Thank you, Mr. Lacey. I see no further questions. Councillor Shaw, did you wish to close off debate?
No, I'm good, Mayor Masters.
Thank you very much, Councillor Shaw. City Clerk, could you please call the vote?
Through you, Mayor Masters, the motion carries 9-1, with the following members voting in favor as follows. Councillors Hawkins, Bresciani, Stadnichuk, Fendura, Zakidniak, Mole, Mancinelli, Shaw, and Mayor Masters, and Councillor Stevens voting against.
Thank you very much to the clerks. Next up, we'll consider item CR 22-52, the Rogers Communications Cell Tower lease at 418 North Pasqua Street. Just prior to turning it over to you, Deputy Mayor, there is a correction to the address and the title of the report as per the adjustment memo that we received from 418 North Pasqua Street to the correct address at 480 North Pasqua Street. So Councillor Shaw, could I please ask that you introduce the report and make a motion to make that amendment?
Thank you, Mayor Masters. This was kind of a quick conversation regarding this. It didn't take a lot of time. It was kind of needs to be done. Executive Committee is seeking concurrence on this going forward, and I will recommend. What would you like me? Sorry, just trying to find what I have the amendment to. Yeah. The address, do I need to, okay, sorry. The address, we just need to correct the address and the title of the amendment, please, the report. 14.
Thank you. So motion on the floor for Rogers Communications cell tower lease at 480 North Pasco Street. Can we have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Zakidniak. Any members of council wish to speak to the item on the agenda? Seeing none, Councillor Shaw, you want to close that one off? All right. Clerk, could you please call the vote?
Through you, Mayor Masters, the motion carries unanimously with all members voting in favor.
Thank you very much. Council, we are now going to consider IR 22, CN 22-02, the 2020 and the 2021 annual report. The item was tabled at the March 16th, 2022 City Council meeting. This is an informational report, and the motion that will come forward will be a receive and file. But first, I will ask the City Clerk to speak.
Thank you, Mayor Masters. So this is an annual report brought forward to Council for the Civic Naming Committee, just to report on the amount of applications that they have reviewed throughout the year. We did not bring a report forward to report on the results of the 2020 year. So this report is reporting on both 2020 and 2021.
Thank you. Could I have a motion from Council for a receive and file? Thank you, Councillor Findura, seconded by Councillor Hawkins. Thank you. Do any members of Council have any questions for the City Clerk on the report? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerks to call the vote.
Through you, Mayor Masters, the motion carries unanimously with all members voting in favor.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda, we'll consider item CR 22-54, the Regina Exhibition Association Limited Appointment of Directors. Councillor Shaw, can I please ask that you introduce the report?
This is just a report to a new board member on the board. Executive committee seeks concurrence on the names of the unanimous. Thanks.
Can I get a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Bresciani. Any questions or comments on? Councillor Shaw, do you wish to close off debate?
No.
Thank you. Clerks, could you please call the vote?
Through you, Mayor Masters, the motion carries unanimously with all members of council voting in favor.
Thank you very much to the clerks. Councillor Hawkins has moved to adjournment. Could he have a seconder? Councillor Bresciani seconds. Any opposed? Shocking. Shocking there's none opposed. Thanks very much, Council. Thanks to administration for the reports today. Have a lovely evening. Go enjoy the outside.